All right, welcome everybody. I assume you can see this, and if you can, why don't you send me a little chat there so I know that everybody can see this. Somebody's preparing chicken wings for the show. That's awesome. I hope those come this way. So I'm Bob. I'm from ILikeToMakeStuff.com, and obviously, if you're watching this, I really appreciate you guys being here. What's on your workbench right now? Oh, questions already. All right, so I want to welcome David Picciuto. Everybody knows him from the Drunken Woodworker, and so we're going to try to just let you guys ask some questions to him, to me, about work, projects, YouTube, whatever you want to. So if you want to ask a question, if it's to both of us, just start it with both. If it's to one of us, just start with a name, so that way we can make sure the right person is answering what you're asking. So, oh, Bob, I can see it. Right on. Cool. Oh, Jimmy's here. Hey, Jimmy. Cool. All right, so let's get some questions going. This one is to both of us, and I don't know if you guys can see the questions, but I'm going to read them out loud just so you know what we're talking about. David, Bob, how did you guys meet? Well, we met on this thing called YouTube Hangouts about 10 minutes ago. We've been talking a little bit, and yeah, but this is like the first time we've ever spoken. So,
hi, Bob.
Hi, David. Did you have a different story you wanted to share about how we met?
No. Did I discover you via your YouTube channel? Did I post one of your videos? Or no,
Yeah,
you sent me a link. You sent me an email, right?
I did. One time, one of your shows, you asked for people to send you links to their stuff or whatever, and I sent you a link thinking I don't really only do woodworking stuff, so I didn't know if it'd be interesting, but I sent it to you because I thought maybe you'd just get a kick out of it. So.
And then I found it very interesting. So, and now we're besties.
That's right. All right. So well, this is awesome. In anticipation, I put the kids to bed early. Me too. All my kids are in bed, so that's awesome. Hello, Bob and David. What's on your workbench right now? I assume this is for both of us. David, what's on your workbench right now?
Well, today I started filming how to make a desktop organizer, and that video should be out on Monday. So that's what's on my workbench. It's just a real simple business card, pencil, desktop organizer. A couple other little things that I'm finishing up, but that's about it. Nothing too interesting right now.
Gotcha. And you're moving on to like a weekly project schedule, right?
Yes. Starting on Monday, I'm going to release a project video every week.
That's awesome. I envy that.
Thank you. I'm scared of it.
You're scared of it?
Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm going to run out of ideas. So.
I've got a long list. I'll share some with you.
All right.
So what I'm working on is a video that also should be up hopefully tomorrow, maybe Thursday. I can show you a little bit of it. It's a bench. And I've started making these benches for an event in Atlanta, and they wanted 4 of them, and I had already made one, so I made another one with a different pattern on top. And then this is part of another one with another pattern on top. So I have a 4th one to make. And so the video will talk about the construction, and they're all pallet based, but they're sanded and planed and really nice, and it's not like rustic or anything. They're a little more finished than the benches that I've done before. So that's what's on mine.
I like that. It seems the 45-degree chevron angle seems to be your thing.
It's easy. It looks like it's a lot of work, but it's really easy. I think that's part of why. I mean, honestly, that's what a lot of people like right now, and so if I make something like that, there's more likelihood that it'll sell. And a lot of the things I make are not commissioned. They're just like, hey, I got to make this thing, and then I got to figure out what to do with it. So, here's a good one. Have you ever seriously hurt yourself in the shop or any close calls? What was the lesson learned? For me, I've never hurt myself real seriously, but I've had some kickback in the gut, and that hurts quite a bit. I shot myself in the finger with a brad nailer a couple months ago, which didn't cause any damage or anything, but it hurt at the time. And other than that, it's mostly like burning my hand or shocking myself or something like that. But
Yeah.
what about you?
I've never seriously hurt myself. I usually when I'm on the table saw or the router, I'm like focused in, paying attention. I question myself before every cut. When I do hurt myself, it's when I'm not woodworking. I'm just moving throughout the shop, and I'll hit my hip on the table saw, or I'll hit my head on one of the furnace vents. I hurt myself all the time, but it's never serious, and it's usually just me walking into something because my shop is so small, and then there's a furnace right in the middle of it that kind of makes it awkward, I guess. So no, I've never seriously hurt myself.
Good. It's good for both of us, I guess.
Yes, let's keep it that way.
Yeah, seriously. Let's see. Bob, is woodworking and making stuff your primary job, and do you have experience in other fields? No, it's not. This is purely a hobby for me. The whole YouTube thing is just something I try to fit in on the side. I'm a software engineer by day, and David and I both actually do a lot of the same type of work, or well, we did when he had a job. And but yeah, so I write software all day, and this is my way to get out of that world and get in the real world, and, you know, do some stuff that's like hands-on.
Your YouTube numbers are climbing pretty fast, I see though. So that's got to feel good, and has to make you want to make more videos, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the subscriber numbers have jumped, and I don't know why. I wish I had like a great like, oh, I did this and that caused the number to go up.
I know why. The videos are fantastic. That's why. So.
Oh, well, thank you. But I mean, other than that, I don't know why it's going that direction, but it is definitely a motivation to be more focused and to be more, you know, proactive on creating stuff. And I have a lot of videos in the pipeline, things that it just takes me time to prep for them and prepare for them. And so that's what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks, and so I'm going to have a lot more coming out in the next couple of weeks, probably 3 weeks, more than what my normal schedule is. So I'm trying to fit it in around my day job, but it's actually pretty tough to do, as David knows. So here's one for David from Jimmy. David, will the project vids and review videos take you all week each week?
No. The project vids may take up a majority of the week. The weekly review video, I shoot that, takes about a half hour to shoot, and then maybe 3 hours of editing. And I always do that on Thursday, so that doesn't take up too much of my time. The project videos, that's going to depend on what I'm building. So the next project video is, I kind of took my time today. I could have done the whole thing, could have shot the whole thing today and probably edited the entire video tomorrow. But it's just a little desktop organizer. When I get into a bigger piece of furniture, that might take me an entire week. So I'm using the time that I'm not in the shop to expand on the website. I'm also doing other non-woodworking stuff, some freelance web, freelance photography. So right now they're not taking up the entire week, but I could see in the future as maybe I get a little bit more production heavy in them that they will. So, well, I don't know what the future is going to be like. I'm kind of trying to find my rhythm and feel my way around this, and we'll see what happens. So,
Gotcha.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Here's another one for both of us. What was the push to start creating YouTube videos, and is that a source of income, or is it more to drive focus to another source of income? That's a good question. That's kind of along what you were just saying, so do you have an answer for
that? Well, when I first started making YouTube videos for the first, 8 months, I did not have ads on my videos. I just hated the ads, and I think Bob does too. But then, a month ago or 2 months ago when I decided that I want to do this for a living, I turned on the ads. So then the videos kind of became a little bit more income driven, I guess. The weekly reviews haven't changed much as far as the content, but me turning the ads on, now I'm starting to make a little bit of money. It's not that much, but at first they were not an income focus, and now they're becoming that way, I guess. And hopefully, because they're income focused, that the quality of the content will get better. So.
Yeah, I think you and I are really similar in that we both started that same way, and I didn't turn my ads on my videos until like 9 days ago or something. And so I've been making videos for a year or something, and the reason I really started doing it, and I started first with my blog, and I started writing how-tos and stuff, and then I had some background in doing YouTube music, and so I thought, I might as well try out doing a how-to in video. But my real purpose in doing even the blog was to be able to justify some time in the shop. I have 4 kids, I have a really busy life, and if it's just a matter of, hey, I want to go down and play with something in the shop and just waste some time, I have a really hard time justifying that to myself, because I have this awesome family that I should also spend time with. So a lot of it was I needed a vehicle to be able to justify the time, to be able to justify the cost of materials to do something, even if it wasn't bringing money back. It was like an outlet for me to get away from the computer, have some time to myself, and start doing it. And then once I started doing it, the videos felt really natural. Granted, I think I've gotten better at them, and I think I've learned a whole lot about them. But initially, it was pretty natural to like just film what I'm doing. I mean, it wasn't really hard. And then when you watch Jimmy DiResta, right? You watch how he shoots, and he's showing every piece of it. And that was a huge inspiration for me to be like, yes, I mean, I can't do what he does, but I can shoot things like he shoots them, and there's no reason I shouldn't try it, And so then it just kind of became a habit, and it's kind of been doing it ever since. And I mean, as far as income, I'm kind of the same way where like my ads are not bringing in enough to really make it worthwhile for me to spend the time on it, but it's more than 0, so that counts for something, So, I don't know. Let's move on. Who did you guys first start following on YouTube? For me, I think, when I've been on YouTube for years and years and years, so I think initially I started following a bunch of musicians because I was producing music for YouTube, and so it was mostly musicians. And then when I started getting into makers and DIY, I always followed the Make channel for Make Magazine, and I think one time I saw Jimmy DiResta on that channel, and I remembered from watching him on DIY Network and stuff years ago. I mean, that was like, a big highlight of that channel was watching his shows. So the Make channel led me to him, and then, once you start getting down the rabbit hole anywhere on YouTube, you just get flooded with like, oh, this is good, and this is good, and there's this guy, and he does this, and there's these people, and it was just like a flood of awesome content that still seems to keep going. And it's like we haven't found everybody that's so incredible yet. So, what about you?
As far as woodworking, the Wood Whisperer is the first channel that I really paid attention to, and then Woodworking for Mere Mortals. I actually did not discover the subscribe button until maybe a year ago. I know that sounds silly, but I only use YouTube as, I would get there from a link from Facebook, or I would go there to search, but I never utilized my account the way I use it now. And then once I discovered the subscribe channel, I just started subscribing to all these woodworking channels. I have 2 Google accounts, so I use one for fun and music and the other one for woodworking. And so I don't know how many subscriptions I follow now, but every morning I wake up, check the email, watch all the new woodworking videos that come out. So yeah, Mark Spagnuolo from the Wood Whisperer was the first one I think I subscribed to.
Gotcha.
Did you just fall over? What happened there?
Oh, there was a bug on my laptop, and I was putting it off so that I wouldn't hit it and be loud and take the camera control over. That's what I was trying to do. Let's see here. Is it mandatory to have a sweet beard before you start woodworking? I don't know. What do you think? Is it?
Well, I tell you what. it's once you have a beard, it's mandatory to keep it because if you shave it off like I did a few weeks ago, all your YouTube comments will be what happened to the beard, or I don't recognize that guy. So I don't think it's mandatory to have one, but once you do, you got to keep it. So
Yeah, I would agree with that. I have a beard for the first time in my entire life right now, and I've had it for just a couple of months. And a couple weeks ago, I said something about shaving it to my kids, which I thought they'd be like, "Yes, you don't look like Daddy, so shave it and look like Daddy." And they were like, "No, keep the beard." Like, all right, so I don't have permission to lose it yet. Let's see. Here's a good one. Both. What skills would you like to learn next? What you got?
I would love to do more glass work and more metal work. Although I don't have the space or the money to get into metal work. And I don't know anything about it, so maybe I do have the space and money, but from what I see, it looks like it's quite an investment. But I do want to get into some like glass cutting and stuff. So
Interesting. Yeah, metal for me for sure. It's in my near future list of things to do. I've done some metal work in the past, a little bit here and there. I've restored some vintage scooters and motorcycles and stuff. But as far as like fabrication from the ground up, making some stuff, I don't really have a lot of experience there. So I need to go back and reteach myself how to weld and just kind of get some of the basic tools you need to be able to do that. Because I'd really like to build some furniture with metal bases and metal frames and things like that. So
yeah, watching the Diresta videos, Matt and Jimmy, you see a lot of metal work, and that's really inspiring. I'm like, I want to do that. So
yeah, definitely. I know you're on Instagram. I don't know how many other people really cross over into the Instagram world. But I have found a ridiculous amount of just really amazing furniture makers and just makers on Instagram. And it's really easy to find them because everybody seems to just like be looking for other people. And I've been really inspired by some of the wood-metal combos that I've seen on there. There's people that are just making beautiful pieces. I don't know where they sell them. I don't know how much they sell them for. I don't know anything about them. But seeing just this constant feed of really awesome mixture of the two materials is really inspiring. And I think that's a lot of what has led me to want to, to add more metal stuff into mine. So I have metal. That's one thing that I definitely want to learn. And something that I don't want to learn as much as I want to start showing more is electronic stuff. Mm-hmm. I think somehow I've kind of, not somehow, but I've ended up getting kind of grouped with the woodworkers on YouTube, and that's not all of me. I really love doing electronics and lighting and things like that. So I think a lot of some of my upcoming videos over the next 6 months or so are going to be partially focused on wood and then partially focused on electronics and circuits. And like for my Maker 101 series, I've got an episode planned just on like basic circuitry, like how circuits work. So someone could see that and then understand, like, well, that makes sense that the next step would be X, and if you want to make a light turn on, it follows the same pattern. So that's something I've got interest in pursuing more. It's not new to me, but it's something I want to teach about more. So. Let's see. Both. Do you all have a specific place you get materials? Did you build a relationship with your material provider?
Absolutely. There's a place, I'm in Toledo, Ohio, and there's a place here in Toledo called KenCraft, and it's a family-owned hardwood dealer here in town, and I get all my woods there. They have domestic and exotic woods, and they're just super nice people, cool people. I wrote a big blog article about them about a year ago, and where I went and interviewed them and kind of got the history of them and just so yeah. When I go in there, I know everybody by name and they all know me, and sometimes it's a little hard to go in, buy a board, and leave because we end up talking for a half hour. So yeah, I have built a relationship with my material provider. There's another place right next to them that just deals with plywood, and I get a lot of my plywood from there, but they're not as friendly, and I haven't figured out why that is. Where I want to, sometimes you want to go in, and I don't know many other woodworkers, and so when I see them, I instantly want to talk shop with them, and um, and I can do that at my hardwood dealer, but my plywood dealer, they don't seem to want to. They don't seem interested. So uh, I try to have a relationship with everybody.
Hmm. I would love to have a place like that. I don't have one. This is one of those things where I'll come out as a fraud as far as being a woodworker, because I don't go searching out hardwoods. Here's what happened. So I started working with pallets, and then I realized that if you're selective enough, you can get a decent amount of hardwood out of pallets. And so that's been a lot of what I use for a lot of my pieces. And then at some point in this last year, I don't remember exactly when it was, a friend of mine's father, or friend of a friend father, passed away, and he was a woodworker. And so his daughter sold off all of his stuff. And so I got invited over there to pick through what I wanted. And I ended up with a truckload of wood, just like tons of hardwood. And that's when I got my lathe. And so that has been, for this entire year, has been my supply. And I have just a huge stack of lumber over there that's from that, and I don't know when I'll ever get through that. On top of that, my grandfather, who lives in Kentucky, is a woodworker. He's awesome. He makes all sorts of stuff. But he has a nice habit of finding me barnwood and finding me basswood and all this just crazy stuff that he's accumulated over the years, or he listens out for it. And so then when my parents come down to visit me, they usually bring like a truckload of wood. So I guess I do have a lumber connection, but it's like through dead people and family.
Well, I think that works well, though. I wouldn't consider you a fraud if you can get wood that is local, because those trees were probably in somebody's backyard or something, right? Or
yeah, definitely.
Or near them.
My parents were down here a couple weeks ago visiting, and they brought a bunch of wood from my grandfather that he gave me. Yeah. And it was like, he told me the story about it. It was like from this tree that was in the front of this historic house in our town, where this like pioneer came through and set up the town, and this tree was there, and it got sick, and so he and a friend cut it down, and so now I have all this like historic lumber.
That's amazing that it has a story attached to it. So that makes it even more valuable than getting it from some dealer who got it from some other dealer and it came far away. So yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And then I tend to overestimate when I do projects for people when I do have to buy lumber, so I have a lot of excess. Not a lot, I have some excess. So. All right, let's see here. Could you give us an AV equipment rundown of what you use to produce your videos? That's a good one.
Bob, you answer? I'll go grab my camera. It's right over here.
Okay, yeah, sure. Mine's actually behind here. I use a Canon T2i DSLR, which is, it's one of the older Canon DSLRs. I use that with the stock lens, and then I have a wide-angle adapter, like a really cheap Amazon wide-angle. And then for the mic, I use this Rode video mic, and it's a shotgun, so it helps quite a bit. So I do that, and then I have some like cheap eBay lights that I got, like soft boxes that I use for lighting. As far as the voiceovers, I'm a musician, so I have quite a bit of music recording equipment. I have like a nicer mic that I use for voiceover and an audio interface and all that stuff. So that's pretty much what I got. My setup's pretty small. So what about you?
So I'm a photographer. I've been a photographer for many years, a lot longer than I've been a woodworker. So for the videos, I'm using, let's see if I can get this in frame here. It's a Nikon D7100, and it's got a Sigma lens on there. I actually have a couple cameras from my photography world, and the video I get from that is fantastic. The microphone that I'm using is Audio-Technica wireless mic. I've tried a couple different microphones. I tried a Sony, which was a waste of money. I tried another wireless mic that was just annoying, and this one right here, I don't know if there's a model number on here, but it's amazing. It was pretty cheap, and it instantly changed the production value of my videos. And then when I go out into the field and interview people, I don't like to wire them up with a microphone, so I'll have a mic, like a boom mic that attaches to the top of my camera, and I think that's made by AT as well. So that's pretty much my setup, and then all my lights in the shop are all photography lights. There's no fluorescent bulbs or anything. There are photography lights all over the place mounted in the ceiling, which makes shooting videos a little easier for me. So that's pretty much my setup.
Now, I'm curious about the photography lights that you have set up, because that was originally my idea when I put in new lighting. But do you not see spotting with those? Do you not have like hot spots where they overlap and then dark spots where they miss?
No. Maybe when this video goes live, I can post a link, the Amazon link for where I got them. But they're compact fluorescent photography bulbs, and they're at a specific color temperature of 5,600 kelvins is what's light is measured in. And then they're just in the, let's see if I can grab one of them here.
I'll go ahead and queue up the next question for you.
So these photography compact fluorescent bulbs mounted in these cheap Harbor Freight light lamps, and they're just all throughout the ceiling here. And they're not so bright that they create a lot of shadows and spotting. So you need a lot of them. But I found that as my cheap way of lighting up the shop.
Gotcha. What's the wattage on those bulbs, just out of curiosity?
27.
27 watts. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, the next question here is, David, what's the beer for the evening?
The Brooklyn Lager. Brooklyn's make some of my favorite beers. If you want to know what my favorite beer is, it's probably the Brooklyn Brown Ale, but I couldn't find it tonight at my store, so I got Brooklyn Lager.
Nice. All right. Did Chuck get the day off from April?
Every day off is a day off every day is a day off for Chuck. Yeah, I don't know where he is. I haven't seen him in like 2 weeks, so.
Oh. All right. There's a lot of questions, so be patient. I'm trying to get through them. Here's not a question, but a really nice comment. David, your weekly review is a great resource, and you really own a niche on YouTube. It's turned me on to many YouTubers, and I would otherwise not have found. Thank you. So I totally agree with that. I've been exposed to a whole lot through your show, and I think you're doing a service to the people that are interested in this type of content on YouTube. So.
Well, thank you. I really enjoy doing it, and it's actually made me a better woodworker, because now, since I started it, I'm forced to watch all these videos, and I pick up a lot of great tips and ideas. So I'm using them for inspiration, and I hope other people can discover new people and get inspired by that as well. So.
Yeah, I have a question for you, kind of, springboarding off of that. Doing your show, do you have to watch so much content that it's hard to sift through these days?
Yes. So I subscribe to every woodworking channel I can find, and I get a few emails a week saying, "Hey, check out my channel," and I'll instantly subscribe to it. And so every day, maybe a couple times a day, I'll check the feed and I'll start watching the videos. If it's a product review, I'll skip it. I won't watch it. Unfortunately, a lot of turning videos happen to be the same. It seems like the same thing over and over again. So I'll kind of skim through a turning video to see if I see something that's out of the ordinary or unique. If your video is 20 minutes long, I might skip your video because it's just way too much to go through. I also um, if sometimes there's just too much talking at the beginning of a video, so I will just skip that and I'll skim through and try to find the meat of the video. So I don't watch every single video from front to back. I've kind of just learned to pick up on what I know is going to work for the show, and then I add them to a private playlist. So when Thursday comes along, I probably have 15 videos in that playlist, and then I try to narrow that down to 5 to 6 videos. So then once I pick the 5 to 6 videos, then I might watch all those videos from front to back just so I can comment on what I'm showing off to everybody. So hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, it did. I've wondered about that because it seems like you're constantly finding new people that I'm not exposed to, and so it seems like you would just have to be, out there looking all the time. But I guess a lot of it does get sent to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a controversial question for you. You don't have to answer it. Is Chuck a real person?
Yeah, Chuck is a real person. Chuck is one of the reasons I'm mad all the time, because Chuck's a good friend, but he's not a good person to work with. You've met Chuck, so
yes, I have.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that people ask that. I don't know why they don't think he's real, but.
Yeah. Next question.
Next question. Let's see. This is kind of back to me, and I kind of answered this earlier. Bob, I know you've worked with some electronics in your projects. Do either of you have any plans for functional build as opposed to artwork? Do you have any interest in electronics?
Me?
This is to me, but I'm just curious if you do.
I do. I know nothing about electronics. I'm actually I bought I don't want to throw us off track here, but I bought an outlet that has 2 USB ports plus just your regular 3-prong port, and I'm building a custom end table that goes beside the couch that has this USB charging ports and a plug, because I'm always finding myself on the couch and my phone's about to die or my computer's about to die. I need to plug it in, and the outlet's always just out of reach. So I bought this outlet, and then I bought some wire, and I wired that up. I mean, it's just 3 wires, but I felt like, oh, I know what I'm doing now.
Nice.
So that's my and that's going to be a video in a couple of weeks for that build. But now I want to do more stuff like that. I want to get as far as I want to do some more artwork, and I might want to get some lights in there. So I need to learn basic wiring and electronics. So.
Gotcha. For me, yeah, I definitely have several coming up. One of the things that I'll go ahead and tell them one of my ideas, but I have a dust collection system, kind of a DIY dust collection that I'm about to build, and there's a bunch of blast gates for each tool. And so one of my ideas is to use a microcontroller with a control pad for you to be able to automate the blast gates opening and closing when they need to. So you could press number 1 for the table saw, and it would open the table saw's blast gate and close all the rest of them to maintain suction just to a single tool. So that's one of my projects that you
could sell that. That's
what I've heard. So I might try to do that. So I've got that, and then for about a year I've been building an arcade machine. And I've got the electronics for it done, but now it's time for me to build the full-size cabinet with lighting and interactivity and all that stuff. So that will be one of these days. That's a big project, so I don't know if I'll do that one. But let's see. If you want to look through these questions and see if there's anything, David, that you want to answer, feel free to grab it. Both, what is the most challenging project you've ever created? Lindsay, not Matt. Matt Crimona's wife.
The most challenging project was an art piece You'll have to go to my website to find it, but it is a pixel by pixel recreation of Mario from Super Mario Brothers. Um, and each pixel was made by a 1 inch by 1 inch square, and I used different woods for the different colors of Mario. It wasn't that it was difficult. It's that it was tedious and slightly dangerous because the pieces were so small, and um, putting a beveled edge on all four sides of each piece, and there was like 300 pixels to make up Mario. So I think that was the most difficult piece. As far as when it comes to furniture, everything is starts off as a box, and um, if I can watch somebody else do it on YouTube, I can usually replicate that and do it in my shop. So, yeah.
For me, the most challenging project, I think it's kind of hard to think of off the top of my head, but a recent project that was pretty challenging. I built a bed and an end table, like a headboard end table combo thing for these tiny homes that an art school was building. And so basically it was a 126 square foot home that fit in a parking space, and it was like fully furnished and fully like automated and modern and all this stuff. But they asked me to build a bed and a headboard end table combo to fit in this thing. So they had blueprints for them, but then they wanted me to wrap it in a certain type of wood and patterning, and they didn't want any, you know, no fixtures showing, and everything was like, there were just like a lot of little details, and it had to fit perfectly in this tiny little house. And I also had like 3 weeks or 4 weeks to build it. So combination of difficulty and time crunch, that was probably the more challenging one. But at the same time, that exposed me to a lot of new things that I'd never had to do otherwise. It's the first time I got to work with teak, and it's now my favorite material to work with. It's just gorgeous wood. So there's a lot of good that came out of that really challenging project.
I should also add to that I haven't built a lot of large pieces. Usually everything that I've designed and built, as far as like a TV stand and a small dresser or whatever, I designed it so it was basic enough for me to build. So maybe I need to challenge myself more in getting into some crazy joinery or just more challenging projects in general. But yeah, so when I say that I haven't been challenged too much, is I haven't built a lot of larger pieces yet. So
Yet.
Yes.
But it's coming, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen any of Matthew's stuff, but Matthew makes some amazing.
It's gorgeous. Every time he does shop updates every week, and I get to see that secretary desk he's building, and it's just beautiful. I don't have the skill or the patience or anything to do stuff like that. It's amazing to see that.
That would be an extreme challenge for me. Is that secretary that he's building? So
yeah,
beautiful working with you.
If you guys haven't seen his channel, you need to go watch it, because it's going to be a beautiful piece of furniture. I mean, it already is, but it's not finished, so it will be more beautiful. Part of me just does what I want on my videos. Another part of me wants to gain a huge amount of subscribers and rule the world. Do you all struggle with this, or are you just doing what you like and whatever happens, happens? I don't have a good answer for that yet. Do you have one?
Well, of course you want a huge amount of subscribers. I think Steve Ramsey just a few weeks ago got over 250,000 subscribers. That's enough to rule the world. There's no trick into getting all those subscribers. Of course, I want all of them, but if you just keep doing what you do and you put out good stuff, like Steve, every Friday Steve puts out a new video, and every Friday they're well done. So if you just put out good quality work, it'll happen over time. And he didn't get 250,000 subscribers in a year. He got them over many, many years. So it just takes time, and eventually we can all rule the world. Chris?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think there's a momentum that happens This is from my very limited experience. But I see that there's a momentum that happens when you're authentic and when you're doing what you're passionate about. And I try really hard to make my projects things that I want, or things that are intentional, like they're purpose-built for a client or for a person I know or something like that. And if I care about the thing that I'm building, then I'm more authentic when I talk about it and when I spend time in detail and things like that. And I've heard from a lot of comments on my videos that people just enjoy seeing that, like, I'm really into what I'm doing. And so I think you get a momentum out of that, and I think the subscribers will come. And, you know, it doesn't mean we're all going to get tons of subscribers, but I have, in the time that I've been on YouTube, I've already become a part of a community of people that are really passionate about what they do, and they're really gracious, and they're good at educating, and that right there is enough for me. I mean, of course, yeah, like you said, of course we want 1 million subscribers or whatever, but you know, we can't make that the goal, the end goal, because there's a good chance it won't happen. So for me, I'm just trying to make videos of things that I care about and trying to present them in a way that is most useful for people and can teach people, and just trying to enjoy the community that's coming up around me, so, or that I'm a part of. That's what I think. Were you able to find the time to assemble your CNC router? And if so, how'd that process go? Go ahead and answer that, David.
Oh, this is from my buddy Ryan. Hi, Ryan. No, I have not. I started to the other night, and I didn't get very far. But all the pieces are laid out on a table in my office, and it just stares at me every day. Sometimes I cover that table with a pile of clean clothes that need to be folded, and then it doesn't stare at me and it doesn't bother me so much. But yeah, I have so many plans for it too. I can't wait to get it. I'm not into building. I'm not into putting together things. Like when I get a piece of, I don't know, IKEA furniture, like I just wish it was together. Or when I get a new tool, like I just wish it was together. I don't want to put it together. So I wish somebody would just come over and put the CNC router together for me. But that's not going to happen. So, and Bob, you have the same CNC router. How many hours does it take? Would you estimate? Is it 10 to 20?
I think, yeah, probably 10 to 15. What I did was I spent about a week, and every night I would do my work and do stuff, and then I would go sit down and watch TV with my wife for, you know, like an hour a night and work on a little piece of it, or an hour or two a night or something. So I think it was, you know, probably 10 hours or so with the distraction of TV. I think if you were to like sit down undistracted, you could probably do it in less. But yeah. I'm planning on doing a video that's just about that machine in the next couple of weeks, and I want to explain how it works, and then some of the process of putting it together, and then some of the pitfalls of putting it together, because I found that even though the hardware itself is good quality, the final build is good quality, there's a lot of stuff about it that fails or has trouble simply because you put it together and you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how tight things need to be, or you don't know how square things need to be, or whatever, and you can't learn that stuff until you try to make something with it and it fails, which has happened to me a lot and still happening. So my video hopefully will kind of help, you know, people that get one of these things, which it's a great machine and I recommend it to people, but hopefully the video will help people understand what they're getting into and know that, you know, when you put in the last screw, that doesn't mean it's ready to go. There's still a lot of tweaking and a lot of stuff to go with it. So I've got that one coming. People have been asking for it, so I hope it's helpful to people. It's a really inexpensive CNC machine. So, like, somebody made a comment on one of my videos recently, like, "Oh, you cheated. You used a CNC to cut the numbers on your clock." I'm like, well, it's a tool. I mean, that's like saying a router is cheating because you didn't, you know, use a chisel and cut everything. It's just a different tool. So, as far as cost of entry for CNC, this is the absolute cheapest one I could find that was worth any money at all. So. I'll talk more about that in my video, I guess. Oh, here's a good one. Dave, will you give us a closer look at Kelly's work? The baskets I've seen are wonderful. Congrats on the engagement, by the way. Yes, congrats.
Thank you. I don't know where all the baskets are. Otherwise, I'd grab a couple and show you. Um, Man, I think they're still in boxes from our last pop-up show. So, and she doesn't have a link. She doesn't have an Etsy account yet, so I can't even give anybody a link to go look at her baskets. But she is called the Wooden Fox. She is on Facebook. Um, and it's funny. She just got into basket making a year and a half ago or something. But she was going with me to these craft shows, and she was helping me set up and helping me sell. And they're long days sometimes. Sometimes they're 8-10 hour days. And so she wanted something to do, and so she was trying to discover all these other crafts. She gave crochet a shot, and she didn't like that. And then she gave basket making a shot, and she's like, it took off from there. And so now we can go to these shows together and set up a booth or even share a booth, and we're both selling and doing our own thing. So it makes when your partner makes something and you both are at these shows together, it makes it so much more enjoyable. So and thanks for the congrats on the engagement. So October 17th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. There's some really funny comments and questions in here. Bob, were you jealous when you realized that David started seeing Kyle Toth on the side? Extremely.
When what?
When I realized that you started seeing Kyle Toth on the side.
Oh, Kyle is amazing. That dude. If you don't know who Kyle Toth is, just do a search for Kyle Toth Woodworker. You'll come across the site. He's an artist and a woodworker, and amazing. He's like 23 years old. Super cool guy. Never worked a job in his life. He's just done woodworking all his life. So, I'm in love. I have a man crush on Kyle for sure.
Yeah, his work. Had never seen it before you had him on your show, and I was just blown away with. Turning big things like that in general just is foreign to me. I don't have experience there, and so to see him do that and to see Frank Howarth, I mean that stuff just blows me away. So it's awesome to see that kind of work done.
Yeah,
Bob, my respect for you has gone up a notch due to the Han Solo pick that you have in the shop. Yeah, that's a print of a friend of mine named Dove McCard is an illustrator, and he does amazing illustrations, all sorts of science fiction, fantasy, and stuff. He's a professor at the art school here. So if you can buy one of those, and he has like a Boba Fett one that's really awesome too. So he has a lot of really great work. Let's see. Do you have a woodworking budget? I'll take this one first. I don't really have a woodworking budget, but one of the reasons that I was saying earlier, one of the reasons I started doing these videos was so that I could justify, the time spent in the shop. And part of that process was figuring out a funding platform. And I've tried to use Patreon as a funding platform, not to make a lot of money, but to be able to make enough money to cover the cost of materials. So once that grew to the point to where it was bringing in a little bit, that became my budget. And so the motivation for me to try to get support through Patreon or PayPal or whatever, that's not for me to make a bunch of money. That's for me to have a woodworking budget, a making budget, to be able to do stuff in the shop, for the shop. And my wife is really gracious to, let me spend our money on this stuff too if I need it. But I didn't want to put that burden on our family. I wanted to be able to have the freedom to say, yeah, I want a CNC router. I'm going to go get a CNC router because the projects that I'm going to do with it are going to pay for it. So that's kind of what I work toward and still working toward. But what about you? Do you have a woodworking budget?
I do not. Buying stuff for woodworking was a lot easier when I had a job. I just bought tools as I needed them, and now that if you don't know, I quit my job like 3 weeks ago to pursue the online life. And so now money's a little bit more tight. So I don't know what my budget is. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to figure that out real soon. So I don't really know how to answer that, but I'm very cautious of what I buy now. I'm not going to be making any more major tool purchases unless it's actually going to help my career, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. It gets to a point to where, or I'm at this point anyway, where I've gotten all the basic stuff that I need, and for me to spend any more money on tools would be like jumping to a different class of tool, and that's money that I don't have, that I could not justify, for like anything bigger. And I don't have the space for it, but yeah, I'm kind of maxed out in the same way. Excuse me. For many of us, woodworking is a solitary activity. Have you ever built a project with another person? If so, how did it go? If not, do you think you could give up some of the control for a project to someone else? That's a good question. I know you said that you don't have a lot of woodworking friends or no woodworkers there. What's your answer for this one?
I have never worked on a woodworking project with somebody else. Would I? Yes. I don't. My favorite part of woodworking is the very beginning and the very end. I love designing, and then I don't know how to say this without sounding egotistical, but I love showing that off as well. I'm like, I'm proud of this. Look what I made. Um, so if I work with somebody else, I might be kind of controlling when it comes to the design, because if I have an idea in my head or that I sketch out, I really want to. I probably want to push for my design over somebody else's design. If I was working with somebody, but I've never done it, so I don't know how that would go. I play in a band, and I write songs, and somebody else another band member will say, well, that part's not working, let's do this. And a lot of times that kind of hurts your feelings when that happens, but then 10 minutes later, that new part that other musician wrote is actually better for the song. And it just takes a little bit of time for you to realize that. And so I would probably grow a lot faster if I was actually working with somebody else on a project. You?
Yeah, the music is another thing you and I have in common, and that I totally agree with that. There's some stretching and growing you have to do to be in a band, to relinquish some of the control, but still you want to get your creative input in. As far as woodworking, I've never done I've done construction type projects with people. I've had a good friend of mine. We used to build, we built a deck, well, 2 decks, one at my house, one at his house, and some different things like that. And we worked well together, but of course, with anybody who thinks they know what they're doing, there's always going to be some when it comes down to put the nail in, we're like, oh, I do it this way. Well, I do it this way, and there's some frustration there sometimes, but also, you got to be willing to look at the project as a whole and see if it's going to be better for not having your signature on this one little cut or this one little thing. And I would like to do some more collaboration with people. David and I have talked about that, and I think it's difficult in the space that we're all in on YouTube and being distributed across the world and stuff, but it's not impossible. And I think there's some really cool stuff that could come out of sharing people's technique and sharing people's knowledge on a single item, and then putting that thing out, the video of that out as a tool for people to understand the tools and techniques and the collaboration part of it. So it's an exciting thing, I think, and has some good possibilities. And there's a question kind of related. Do you think David, Jimmy DiResta, and you will do a collaborative project? Yes, we will. It is. It's in the works. It's in the planning stages. So.
Do you know when? Do you know Anthony? Did you tip Anthony off to that?
I don't know Anthony. That's a good question, though. Glad somebody asked it. But yes, eventually that will happen because we've been talking about it. Bob and David, do you ever think you will own a 3D printer soon? I will in about a month.
Ooh.
What about you?
I've looked into it, and uh, there's a podcast called Stuff You Should Know, and they had a whole podcast about 3D printers, and it almost turned me off to it because of the materials and the toxic fumes involved. I don't know if I have a space that's ventilated enough to have a 3D printer, and so I don't think I'm going to.
Hmm. Well, one thing, in regard to the fumes, there are different materials that are used in different machines. And so when you look at a machine and you're interested in picking one out, there's generally PLA and ABS are the two types of most common plastics that are used in them. And PLA is food safe, and I believe doesn't release the chemicals when it's heated. I might be wrong about that, but
that's my lack of knowledge. I guess I didn't know that, so that's good to know.
Yeah. So as far as mine, I funded a Kickstarter. It's been almost a year ago, I guess now, for a Delta printer, and it's a new printer that should be shipping out in August, I believe, maybe September. So I've been waiting for a long time to get this thing, and it's a different design. It's more of a tower where the print head moves up and down and can move around. So it builds from the bottom up like that way, rather than a normal kind of 3-axis gantry system like the CNC machine, where there's a big bar that moves this way, and then the print head moves up and down. So it's a little bit different configuration than a lot of them. And I think that's why I'm so excited about it, just because it's something new. And I don't know how I'm going to use it. I don't know how I'm going to integrate it into my projects, but I do have a lot of little ideas for small things that can be made. And since it uses a food-safe plastic, that opens up some more possibilities for making and selling like really small things that once you get the design done and you spend your time on the design, the production is pretty simple. So,
do you see it as more of a way to create art or to create a functional item?
I think I'll use it more for function. I have a friend here in town who works in industrial design, and he creates art. He creates some really beautiful coaster sets that are very intricate, stuff that you could never produce any other way. And they're really gorgeous. And then I know another girl here who does jewelry with them. She does these like collar things and stuff that it's so intricate that there's no other way you could create that. Or if you did it by hand, it would just be like ridiculously expensive. So I see it used that way a lot. I'll use it probably for more functional, replacement parts and spacers for things and cases for electronics and things, a little more functional stuff. And Legos, you can print your own Legos. So,
yeah. Are you into Legos?
Oh, I'm a huge Lego fan.
Oh,
huge.
Nice.
Yes. To the point of being a complete nerd about it. Let's see here. Etsy has been a source of inspiration in the past, and there are many talented people and woodworkers. However, some of the prices on Etsy are outrageously overpriced. What is your take on $300 pallet chairs? Do you have an idea?
I haven't seen the $300 pallet chairs, but you have to keep in mind that these things are handmade and somebody's mind designed these things. So I don't know how long it took to make these things. So you can go to an art show and you can see a painting that is $4,000 and you're like, oh, I could have painted that in 10 minutes. Why is it priced at $4,000? Well, you're paying for the artist, or you're paying for the maker. I wish I could see this $300 pallet chair to talk more on that, but I don't think most things on Etsy are overpriced. I think you're not buying from a department store. You're buying from somebody who's making these things in their basement or garage or their bedroom. So it has value because you're using your hands to make this stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't have a lot of experience with Etsy. In fact, I sold my first thing on Etsy like 2 days ago. But when I do look around, a lot of the stuff does seem overpriced. But I think a lot of that's what you said. People value their own work to a point. And I think another thing is that especially in a space like Etsy, you don't know what people are willing to pay. And so if you put a pallet chair that costs you nothing to get the materials for and just your time, and you put that on there and you think, hey, if somebody wants to pay $300 for it, I'll sell it to them. I think that's a lot of what ends up there. People are testing the waters and they're trying to see what, because there's no blue book for what furniture's worth and for what your time is worth. Everybody has a different idea of that, and so I think a lot of times people are just trying things out. For me, Etsy is kind of like a big black hole. Like I think the few things that I have on there are mixed with a million other things that are very similar, and I don't see it as a place that I could sell a whole lot because I don't have a really standout item. I think that's where you could do really well there if you have something that really stands out. If it's artwork, that's different because there's something really unique about each piece that you do. As far as furniture, I think you really have to find a way to push yourself to the forefront in a pool that's so big like that. Somebody wrote, Bob, correct. PLA is the safe version about the plastic. ABS is said to release fumes. And he has a Delta printer that's the same as the one I'm going to get. So cool. Thanks, Seth. All right. Well, it's about 10:30, so I don't want to make this go too long. But let's see if there's anything else here that would be a really good one for us to end on. Let's see here. Okay. When you guys make things, do you ever feel as though you over-criticize your own work to the point you don't want to finish the work? What about you?
It's happened before, yes. I think it happens to a lot of us. And then I think what you need to do is just do it, just finish it, even though if you're not happy. And then when you look at that piece a couple weeks down the road, you're like, oh, that looks great. Why was I over-criticizing myself? So it has happened, and I think you just need to plow through it and come back and look at the finished piece when you're done. So
yeah, I think I do that to a point, but I also don't give myself, given my lifestyle and my schedule, I don't give myself enough time to be maybe as critical of my work as I should be. I think a lot of my work is like, oh, I have 30 minutes to do this thing. I'm going to go down and do it and get it done because I have to meet this certain point so that tomorrow I can poly this thing, or tomorrow I can use my tools when my kids are awake during nap, not during nap time. And so I have this crazy work schedule where a lot of people can just go out to the shop, do things at their own pace, do things, and I think in my situation, I'm more rushed and probably sloppier and probably shortcut stuff. But part of that is me not giving myself the criticism that maybe I should. I do criticize my own work, and I'm not happy with how a lot of things turn out, but not to the point to where I'm not going to finish them. So, yeah, that's me. All right, well, probably going to wrap it up. I did see one on here. There's so many good ones. Thank you guys so much for these questions, and maybe, David, maybe you can come back and do one of these again sometimes, because there's a lot on here that I hate to not answer, but this could go all night if we did that.
I would love to. This has been fun. So
one more thing here. It says, Bob, thanks for doing this. Are you planning on reaching out to other woodworkers like Steve, Matthias, April, Frank, etc.? Yes, I will. I'll go ahead and say now, August 12th, we're going to do one of these with the great Jimmy DiResta. So I'm really excited about that. So I will put that up in YouTube for you to put it in your calendar so you can come back and ask him lots of awesome questions. And then I would love to get some of the other people. I don't know a lot of them. I've talked to Jay Bates. He's interested in doing one. But I don't know a lot of these people, so I don't, I can reach out to them, but I don't know that they'll respond. But yeah, I definitely plan on doing this maybe every month, maybe a little bit longer. I don't want to overdo it, but I want to find people that you want access to as viewers, people that you want to ask questions to. So email me, bob@ILikeToMakeStuff.com, if you have ideas of people that you think I should invite, or just bug them and tell them to get in touch with me. That would be fine too. It'd be easier maybe. So yeah, David, thank you so much for doing this, man. And it's nice to finally meet you. It's nice to hear you talk about your work, and we will definitely do it again at some point.
I look forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. All right. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you August 12th. Actually, I'll see you later this week with a project video, and then the next BrainPick with Jimmy DiResta will be August 12th at the same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thanks. Go make something.